November the 26th. Lake level is about just under 917, about like 916.9, but they've been about the same as it was for the last week and a half. They're generating a bunch of water, but they're also dumping a bunch of water out of Beaver, so the lake level itself hasn't changed much. But the water temperature pretty much throughout the lake, about 53, 54 degrees in the morning, unless you're up in the upper river arms and it's in the low 50s. And, you know, I hadn't really warmed up too much, 51, 52 degrees. I'm sorry. It's been warming up 2 or 3 degrees from whichever, you know, I've seen 55, 56 in the mid-lake area. And the river arms will warm up to about 53 to 54. Before I get into the fishing report, Sportsman Factory Outlet has got their annual canned food drive going on till the end of December. And this is really a good deal because all of the foods go to help people that need it in the Ozarks here. And if you bring food in, you'll get 20% off of any one item in the store. And they've also got, you know, Black Friday sales going on this weekend. And there's all kinds of things they got on sale, discontinued items, overstocked items, but they've just got some great sales going on. So if you get a chance, even if you don't buy anything, stop by and drop off some canned foods for the people in our area that really need it, especially during this time, you know, the holiday season's here. But I'm ready to be able to tell you that the fishing's really picking up, but I think it's still really hard. You know, I had several groups of deep fish located, and that was the way I was catching them the most consistently was on ice fishing, Rapala or ice fishing jig, whether it be the little 5/8 or the 7/8. And I'm throwing different colors. It's a chartreuse and white. This is a chrome and black. Blue and white's been working as well. And then spoons. And on the spoons, I'm throwing 1/2 ounce to 1 ounce. This one here, Pig Sticker makes. This is a War Eagle. This one here is a Dixie Jet. So I don't think it matters which brand you're throwing, especially on a slab spoon, because it's basically just a hunk of lead. Bait's getting down there real fast. And another thing I've been catching a few on is a little 4-inch grub, either a gray with red flake or smoke with black flake. But these fish, for the most part, have been extremely deep. The majority of the fish that I had been catching were, you know, 55 to 65 feet deep. And there's a few white bass mixed in with them, you know, mainly Kentuckies. And they seem to be more out on the main lake. Almost all the schools of fish that I found have been on main lake, flat gravel points that run way out into the lake. And you just got to get out on the tips of them. And, you know, if it rolls off into a channel on one side, that's good. But you want a good drop off on one side or the other. And a lot of times you got to spend time idling around with the boat or on the trolling motor. A lot of the areas, you can usually tell where there's a good chance of getting a bite because there's a bunch of shad out there. If you idle across an area that doesn't seem to have any bait at all, you know, down there, I hadn't really been fishing. It seems like I've got to have bait there. I don't have to be vertical jigging right underneath the bait, but the bait's got to be, you know, in the vicinity. You know, and like I said, I had several groups, schools of fish found that had been pretty consistent for me. But then a lot of them kind of went to heck on me about midweek last week, and I've only just got a couple places that I seem like I can go there and get bit consistently. And the best bite for me on that has been early in the morning. Now today and yesterday, I did start catching some more fish in the creeks. You know, normally this time of year, we'll find a lot of bait in the center of the creeks over the deep treetops. Now I found some in the creeks. Hadn't been suspended over the treetops, but they're, you know, dead on the bottom. And about the same depth, you know. I mean, I start looking about 45, but I have caught them out as deep as 65 to 68 the last couple of weeks. And while we was in them creeks, it seemed like today, if we had a little bit of wind, I could get bit on a crankbait. Most of my crankbait fish, the few that I had been catching, had been out on the main lake. But I'm starting to catch some fish back in the creeks now, and I'm pretty much just starting from the mouth of a creek. It seemed like the best rock is that big ledgy rock with a little bit of gravel mixed in it. You know, about a 45-degree bank seems to be working the best for me. And we've been catching a few on a rock crawler, and a wiggle wart, and a Strike King Series 3X. But I haven't got it figured out to any one color that's working any better. Normally in the springtime, I like the red and the green. But we caught a couple on that color today. And also, this here is usually a good fall color, especially in the clear waters, like the Phantom Green. Spro makes one, and then Wiggle Wart has one pretty much the same color. But it seems like once you get the bait down there, you got to crank it dead slow. It seemed like where there wasn't any wind, we couldn't get bit. And we didn't get bit every place there was wind, trust me. We still had to cover quite a little bit of water. But some fish are starting to show back up in the creeks there for me. Another way we're catching a few is on a spinnerbait. And I kind of been mixing the spinnerbait up. I've been throwing like a war eagle, a screaming eagle. But one that's been working for me good too has been it's a Stan Sloan. And this is a real heavy one. It's a 5/8 ounce. And the reason I'm using the heavier one, I'm getting that bait, you know, the same place I'm cranking, I might be setting in 20 foot of water, casting at a 45-degree angle to the bank. But I'm getting this bait on bottom just like the crankbait and just slow rolling it. I am getting them stuck quite a little bit, but I can't work it fast and get a bite. I've got to crawl the spinnerbait just like I'm doing, you know, with the crankbait. And a lot of times the bite on both baits, like on the crankbait, you'll just feel it all of a sudden stop wobbling, or on the spinnerbait, it's just been a mush feel. But one thing about the heavier crankbait, if I get into a pocket that's got a lot of cedar trees, what I've been doing is casting by the cedar trees. And normally early in the fall, we'll run it by the tops of the trees real fast. We'll burn it. But what I'm doing out there in that open water, I may be dropping the spinnerbait down 15, 20 feet where I can tick the tops of some of the trees, whether it be cedar trees or hardwoods. And, you know, one thing about the Panoptic or the Garmin Live Scope, you can actually see where the trees are out there in front of you, cast to them, and, you know, watch the bait go down. You can figure out how deep your bait is. But on that 5/8 ounce bait, it's it'll drop about 1.5 foot a second. And, you know, the 1/2 ounce about 1 foot or so. But for the most part, I think the fishing's still extremely tough. Still not seeing hardly any bait fish back in the creeks. Last couple of days, we started to see a little bit. And the water, for, you know, as cold as it's been outside, it really hadn't changed the water temperature a whole lot. But, you know, it's in the temperature range right now where they should be on that wiggle wart and crankbait a lot better than what they are. It seems like, to me anyways, the bait just has not moved up to the bank or in the backs of the creeks. Like I say, I'm just now starting to catch some fish in the creeks. Most everything had been out on the main lake. I don't know mainly if that was because they're running so much current. But even out on the main lake, on these deeper bluff ends where we can usually catch them over submerged timber, you know, I'm seeing fish in some of them places. And, you know, a lot of places you'll see fish. A lot of them, they'll follow the bait up and down. If I find that, I might come back to that place in a couple hours. It seems like it's just a matter of being at the right place at the right time whenever the fish are, you know, ready to feed. But, you know, looks like it's going to be a nice weekend out there. Should be, you know, a lot of people going to get a chance to get out there and do some fishing. And the crappie are biting. I talked to several guys today while I was fishing up in the James River that are catching quite a few crappie. I hadn't been doing it, so I really can't tell you how deep they are or you know, what to use it for baits, but I know they are catching them because we talked to several of the guys today. So till next week, good luck, good fishing.